Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, we need to talk. We need to talk about this now because it is happening. It is happening. We are the first domino to fall. No, we are the first domino that fell. We're the first domino that got hit. We're the first country to declare national emergency, national energy emergency, that we only have 45 days of fuel reserve. And after that, we don't have any more fuel. And high possibility of aircrafts to be grounded because companies said they can't fuel our aircrafts anymore, that we would have to carry the fuel there and back. What is going to happen to the Philippines? We are not in a good place. Well, right now, we are not the best place. We're not a good place. Do not move to the Philippines, guys. So because of the current situation in the Middle East, oil prices are starting to go up, like really skyrocketing. And we all need to sit and understand, especially if you're planning to move to the Philippines, you might want to slow down and really think about it. I'm not saying don't come here, but don't make decisions based on what the Philippines looks like when everything is okay. Because wars don't end quickly. They drag on months, sometimes years or decades even. And right now, everything feels very, very, very unstable already. So just imagine this goes on longer. What do you think is going to happen next? Now, before anything, let me be fair. The Philippines actually has one advantage. If you really want to live simple, you can. You have sun almost the whole year. You can grow your own food. You can raise animals. You can live off grid. You don't need a complicated lifestyle to survive here. So, in a scenario where the world really goes bad, like really, really bad, so there is a version of life in the Philippines that can still work. So, I saw this comparison between Thailand and the Philippines, and it made me think because it's not just about fuel prices, it's about how countries are built. So, in Thailand, fuel is still significantly cheaper. Not crazy cheap, but clearly lower than the Philippines. And that gap is not random. It comes from how their system is built. And, Thailand has its own refineries. That alone changes the situation. I mean, we also have, but only one, the Philippines. They're not fully dependent on importing finished fuel. They have more control. They can manage supply better. They also have an oil fund. So when global prices go up, they can step in and soften the impact. People don't feel, everything immediately. And the transportations, they have trains, they have buses. I mean, they have options. So not everyone depends on fuel the same way. Now, here in the Philippines, we import most of our fuel. So whatever happens globally, we feel it immediately. It's like no buffer, no delay. It's just, it hits. That's it, immediately. And then you also add how things move here. Transportation is already inefficient. So when fuel goes up, everything follows. Food becomes more expensive, delivery becomes more expensive, electricity becomes more expensive, running a business becomes more expensive for sure. Living in general becomes more expensive. And I know it's not just Philippines, it's the same everywhere. But, this is where it becomes even more interesting. The geography. The Philippines is literally in the middle of the ocean. We are not connected to any country. Everything comes in by ship. Fuel, food, construction materials, literally everything. So when oil prices go up, shipping becomes more expensive. I mean, that's already one layer. Then when it arrives here, it still needs to be distributed across islands, thousands of islands. So the cost doesn't just increase once, it increases again and again and again. We're not talking about a small adjustment, we're talking about a system where every step adds cost. And when oil is expensive, every step becomes more expensive. Now, add this on top, electricity. A lot of places here still depend on fuel for power, not renewable, not stable. Fuel. Here in this island in Sikihor, so I lived here and I've seen how it works. Last summer was already so bad. Power outages, rotational brownouts, and that was just from high demand, from tourists, businesses, air condition. everyone using more power, and the system couldn't keep up. So now imagine that same situation, but with higher fuel costs, more pressure globally, less stability. You don't need to overanalyze it. You already know what happens. So I'm scared that there's going to be more outages, longer outages, and more expensive electricity for sure. And this is where people start realizing something. The Philippines is not just about cost, it's about how things function when there's pressure. Because when everything is okay, the Philippines can feel amazing, perfect paradise. Cheap food, nice weather, friendly people, beautiful places, beautiful sunset, beautiful beaches, really. But when things start going wrong globally, that's when you see the cracks, not slowly, but immediately. And I'm not saying this to bash the country. This is just how things are. We depend a lot on imports. We don't have strong buffers. We are not very self sufficient like Thailand or Vietnam. We import everything. Now you can really see how the system is so corrupt that, for example, instead of supporting the farmers, no, they support import more here than supporting the farmers. That's why no one wants to farm anymore. We can actually produce our own food. We have so many farmlands, but our farmers are not supported by the government. They even passed a bill that supports importation, imports of more of products instead of supporting the locals and supporting farmers to produce our own. So now all of these things, this wrong move that the government did just so they can pocket more money, it's all coming back to us. It's all coming back. And we are the first country that is going to be in the shithole. We don't have efficient systems in place. So when something like this, like a war affects oil, we don't adjust. We absorb everything. So if you're thinking about moving here, you have to think long term, not just how cheap it is today, but what happens when things are not okay. Because that's the real test of any place. And right now, the world is moving in that direction, uncertainty, instability, pressure, and countries respond differently. Some can absorb it, some pass it on. And the Philippines, you feel it very, very quickly. So again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you something to think about because moving countries is a big decision and most people only look at the good side. And I mean, we also need to understand the system you're entering because lifestyle is not just about what you see on social media. It's about how things hold up when the situation changes. Now, there are warnings that flights might stop because of, oil companies can't fuel the aircrafts anymore. And that the Philippines have only 3 weeks of supply left. And that we are the first country to declare national emergency because of the war in the Middle East. Imagine. And actually, this is what made me want to talk about this even more because it shows how different countries are reacting right now. Like Japan and South Korea, they're already tapping into their strategic oil reserves and they have a lot. We're talking months of supply. Like they're prepared for situations like this. Thailand, they don't have as much reserve as those countries, but they're already adjusting, looking for alternative supply routes, preparing for inflation. You can tell they're thinking ahead. And then you look at the Philippines, we import around 95 to 98% of our oil. That's almost everything. So when something like this happens, we don't really have a lot of room to move. And one thing that really stood out to me, every time there's a global crisis, it expresses how fragile this country's system is. Anyway, that's just something I wanted to share. I'm worried. I want to travel to a cheaper country, but to be honest, there's no place like home. Even if we are the first to feel maybe, like a COVID or kind of a COVID lockdown, at least I'm with family and I can start planting potatoes and we will not starve. Let me know what you think. Reconsider your plans because right now, Philippines is not the best place. I'll see you guys in the next one.